Has Israel-Iran war ended after ceasefire? Who won? Did US President Trump succeed as peacemaker in the past 48 hours? President Donald Trump ordered US warplanes to drop massive bombs on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, and Tehran retaliated by attacking one of the largest US air bases in the Middle East. Trump then announced that a ceasefire between Israel and Iran was in effect. Does this mean the war has ended? Who won the war? Who said what? All questions answered. And the conflict began on June 13 when Israel launched a massive airstrike on Iranian military and nuclear sites, codenamed Operation Rising Lion. In retaliation, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC) initiated a large-scale drone and missile campaign called Operation True Promise 3. Targeting Israeli fighter jet fuel production facilities and energy supply centers. Explained billions counting. How much are Gaza, Iran wars costing Israel? Tensions escalated further after the US conducted precision airstrikes early Sunday morning on 3 key Iranian nuclear facilities under Operation Midnight Hammer. Iran retaliated by launching multiple missiles at US military installations in Qatar and Iraq, including the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, the largest U.S. military base in the region. On Tuesday, Trump announced that Israel and Iran had agreed to a complete and total ceasefire, in what would bring about an end to the conflict just hours after Tehran targeted American air bases in the Middle East. Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdul Rahman Al Thani secured Iran's approval for a US proposed ceasefire in the conflict with Israel, Reuters reported. The conversation followed Trump's communication with Qatar's Emir. Explained friend, F him to joining his war. How Trump's equation with Netanyahu changed over the years. In a Truth Social post, Trump said Israel and Iran would likely exchange final blows over the next 6 hours before the deal would come into place on Tuesday. Trump then wrote that the ceasefire was now in effect. The ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it, Trump said in a Truth Social post. However, 3 hours later, there were reports of firing. The president then took to his Truth Social platform to warn Israel to end its attacks. Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it is a major violation, Trump posted. Bring your pilots home, now. In comments to reporters at the White House before departing for the NATO summit at The Hague, Trump expressed disappointment about the continued attacks. I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran, either, but I'm really unhappy with Israel going out this morning. We basically have 2 countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the F they're doing. What did the US gain? The US did not lose personnel, got to show its firepower, and could also claim credit for brokering peace. And Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel had agreed to a bilateral ceasefire with Iran in coordination with Trump. Netanyahu said that he had reported to Israel's Security Cabinet Monday night that Israel had achieved all of its war goals in the 12-day operation against Iran, including removing the threat of Iran's nuclear and ballistic missile programs. Israel also damaged Iran's military leadership and several government sites and achieved control over Tehran's skies, Netanyahu said. Netanyahu's office said in a statement on Tuesday, Israel thanks President Trump and the United States for their support in defense and their participation in eliminating the Iranian nuclear threat in light of the achievement of the operation's goals, and in full coordination with President Trump, Israel agreed to the president's proposal for a mutual ceasefire. Explained how Israel attacked Iran from inside. The smuggling of weapons, armed drones. Israel will however respond forcefully to any violation of the ceasefire, Netanyahu said. Hours after Trump's announcement, Iran launched waves of missiles, which Israel's ambulance service said killed at least 4 people. Explosions boomed and sirens sounded across northern Israel mid-morning on Tuesday. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz called the missiles a violation of the ceasefire and instructed Israel's military to resume the intense operations to attack Tehran and to destroy targets of the regime and terror infrastructure. Israel accused Iran of an utter violation of the ceasefire for launching a barrage of missiles. Iran denied violating the ceasefire and said that Israel had engaged in multiple strikes on Tehran before the ceasefire went into effect. Between Trump's post and the start of the ceasefire, Israel launched a blitz of airstrikes targeting sites across Iran before dawn, and Iran replied with an onslaught of missiles that killed at least 4 people in Israel early Tuesday morning. Israel said it had intercepted the mid-morning barrage of missiles that came hours into the truce. Tehran will tremble, Israel's finance minister Bezalel Smotrich wrote on X after the missiles were launched. The Israeli Air Force carried out a strike against an Iranian radar north of Tehran a short while ago, Israeli officials confirmed. The strike came in response to Iran's launch of 2 ballistic missiles at Israel after the start of a ceasefire this morning. What did Israel gain? The U.S. airstrikes in Iran showed that Washington is with Tel Aviv, giving a boost to his geopolitical image. This will help Netanyahu as he heads into the polls scheduled for next year. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi confirmed that Iran would stop its attacks if Israel would. But the truce faltered when Israel accused Iran of launching missiles into its airspace after the ceasefire was supposed to take effect and vowed to retaliate. Iran's military denied firing on Israel, state media reported, but explosions boomed and sirens sounded across northern Israel mid-morning, and an Israeli military official said 2 Iranian missiles were intercepted. The Times of Israel reported that 4 people were killed in Beersheba and several were injured in an attack on a residential building in the southern city. Explained Iran's nuclear program, regime change, or both, decoding what Israel is really after. Iran denied ever having a nuclear weapons program, but Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei has said that if it wanted to, world leaders wouldn't be able to stop us. Writing over an hour after a deadline passed for Iran to halt its attacks, Trump wrote on Truth Social, the ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, as of now, there is no agreement on any ceasefire or cessation of military operations. However, provided that the Israeli regime stops its illegal aggression against the Iranian people no later than 4 a.m. Tehran time, we have no intention to continue our response afterwards. The final decision on the cessation of our military operations will be made later, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi wrote in a post on X. It's unclear what role Khomeini, Iran's leader, played in the talks. He said earlier on social media that he would not surrender. Swipe left for next video. What did Iran gain? Although cautious, Iran faced the most powerful country in the world with determination, a move which will boost its image. The US claimed Iran's nuclear facilities took a hit, but Tehran has denied it. Tehran now has all the more reason boost its nuclear power. With agency inputs, latest blogs.